Hi. Well, thank you for joining me today. My name is Karen Vasil Busch. I'm a licensed massage therapist and an Ayurveda practitioner. And today we are going to be talking about winter skin care. It's it's the dead of winter here in Maine, and it's actually pretty appropriate. Today is one of the coldest days we've had in the year so far. I think the wind chill factor's very cold. So we're going to be looking at how to take care of your skin. Of course, the skin, taking care of skin is, year round, obviously, but I'm going to start just with a little disclaimer that I'm not here to diagnose or prescribe anything, but making recommendations from the years that I've had in training with Ayurveda, which is a 5,000-year-old science of life. It's a systematic science. It looks at the body and the mind and the spirit. It analyzes the physiology using an Ayurvedic pulse, which is actually using three fingers and feeling the quality of the arterial pulse. And from that we can get a lot of information, not just about the what you may have heard about Ayurveda, the primary doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, but the subdoshas. There's 15 of them, and there's seven tissue layers. Unlike the Western views the skin in three layers, Ayurveda talks about the seven tissue layers. And I'll be talking about that in relationship to the skin because it's all connected. So let's get started with the screen share here. Alrighty. And so this again is winter skin care, um, virtual wellness through the practice, of yoga, sorry, um, Ayurveda and massage. And my name is Karen Vasil Busch. I've been a licensed massage therapist since 1982, and I've always been interested in the holistic aspect of massage, Eastern view of massage, and really balancing that with the Western. It's interesting because really the first massage technique I learned was Swedish massage, and that did come from Sweden. Pierre Ling developed that, and it's basically a lot of effleurage and a lot of long strokes, and it's meant for. It's great. It's a good circulatory massage. And then I've also studied the Ayurvedic massage, and before that, when I graduated from massage school, I went and studied with Botura Ohashi, who is a famous shiatsu practitioner practicing from New York City. And he predicted, this is back in 1981, he predicted that the more high tech a society becomes, the more we'll be in need of high touch. And I've never forgotten that because it kind of sticks with me today that here we are in virtual land giving a class talking about skin, which I can't, I can see your skins, I can see your glowing faces, but I can't, palpate or touch you. So it's kind of interesting with this. And with winter skincare, especially, I wish we were in this place. I have a picture of this ocean because I just thought, look at the ocean. Do you remember what it's like in the summer to walk in the ocean? And I have fond memories. We have a family cottage in Cape Cod, near Cape Cod, and I have fond memories of going there and spending some time and being in that warm weather. Of course, you have to protect yourself in the summer. For too much sun can damage the skin, but I just thought I'd choose this picture because it just, the wide open ocean has some nice qualities to it. And I think one of the basic things about Ayurveda is looking at our relationship between the macrocosm, our and the world out there, and the microcosm ourself, because there's definitely relationship there, and that's always something that you can continue to explore throughout your whole life. So we're going to continue with slide 2. So radiant skin coming from the inside out. What do I mean by that? Well, the secret to a good complexion is looking at the internal. what's going on internally. And certainly in the winter, it's keeping yourself hydrated. That's probably the number one thing, that hydration. And Ayurveda always recommends drinking either room temperature or even slightly warmer or warmer water in the body, because it helps us assimilate and helps break down the food that we're taking in. It also hydrates us in a good way. So the skin does reflect what's going on in the system. You know, there are normal skin changes. Certainly, you may recall, or some of you, if you're watching this on YouTube, when you're a teenager, you may get the natural eruptions, pimples, all the way to acne from for skin. And that is naturally caused by hormones being released. So that's not unusual. When it becomes cystic and it becomes difficult, then that is something that can be addressed with Ayurveda. Um, in Ayurveda, they talk about I said 7 tissue layers, but they also talk about the 5 layers that are constantly sloughing off and forming and shedding the skin layers. So when you hinder their function, you get skin issues. So sometimes, some of the things we think about of putting on our skin, remember that the skin is both delicate and resilient, so it needs to breathe. I myself have never really been fond of washing my face with soap. I think I did more as a teenager because I might have had a little more acne, oil in the T zone. But basically, I use water. The other thing about skin to know about skin is that the DNA of your skin is from the mother in Ayurveda. So we are all blessed with different skin types. Like everything is individual. So the function of the hair is for body temperature. Hair on your skin is for body temperature and moisture regulation. So the skin also regulates the moisture of the body, as I just mentioned, and it's an indicator of deviances or balances. So it's both delicate and resilient. It is the largest organ in the body. And remember that the skin has to breathe. So things like air conditioning in the summer, which inhibits sweat, your sweating doesn't allow you to keep an equilibrium. So sweating is really important. Even in the winter, when it's dry out and cold, I mean, right now it's below 0 with the wind chills. And I would think, bundling up is crucial to going out, and also maybe not being out as long, because it's wicked. It's really difficult on the skin to be in this dry space environment. That's what Vata is, air and space. So balances are always very important. Opposites balance. So the opposite of air and space would be moisture, would be earth. So maybe that again would be water. I tend not to use, also just going to jump around a little bit here, but lotions, because they have so many products, so many things in them that I can't even name what they are, tend to cover the skin more than anything. You may think that they apply moisture, but if your skin's getting cracked and dry, first thing to do is think about the water and thinking about drinking that. In the Ayurvedic perspective, the skin has a 120-day cycle, which means the channels and the tissue layers, and the waste products, which are sweat, feces, and urine, those are the 3 miles, they they have to be removed from the body. So that's why your digestion and having regular evacuation, bowel movements every day is so important. It's part of the whole cleansing process. So the mind is also relational to the skin. As I mentioned, the mother's DNA and the endocrine system is relational. So when we look at skin causes, skin issues, we look at that. We also realize that skin has got the tridoshic function. If Vata is air and space, for skin is the touch feeling, the feeling of what, when you touch your skin, that's the Vata. In Pitta, the skin is the function. So Pitta is water and fire. So that's the digestive That's that's the digestive part of our system. That's the it's transformation. So that's how the skin functions. And the skin is looked at, the maintenance of the lipids and the fatty acids are considered the kapha, the air and space. So see, it has all these qualities to it. We have all these qualities to it. We may think we're predominantly one quality or the other, but we have all these qualities. And then throughout the day, the vata pitta kapha reflects itself in the day. The morning hours are when it's before 6 o'clock, actually, from 10 to 6. It's kapha time. I mean, excuse me, it's pitta time. It's when things are lighter, either AM or PM. Things are before dawn. You know, I mean, it's clearer. It's more of airy feeling. You know, everything's quiet. Nothing has come out yet. It's like, you know, it's a quiet time. Then when you get into after 6 o'clock, especially in the summer, what do you see on the ground? You see the dew on the ground. So that is water and earth. So that becomes the kapha time between 10 and I'm spacing out here, between 10 and 12, and then 12 to 2 is pitta time. So this is reflected. That's the time when you have a big meal at noontime. So these are things that are reflected in our skin. And like I said, you can anticipate maybe in the winter needing a little more moisture for your skin. Certainly the frequent hand washing from COVID, removing some of the natural oils. I remember in my college years, I worked in a library and I had to handle a lot of paper. I was filing and my hands would get really, you know, even as a young person, my hands would start getting, you know, dry because the paper was absorbing the oil from my skin. So when I mentioned replenishing, I'm going to mention why jojoba oil, which is a good carrier oil, is really ideal for the face. Talk about that a little more. And the sesame oil, which is good for an overall body massage if you're feeling well. If you're feeling ill, it's really not good to do an oil massage in Ayurveda because it's kind of like, it's kind of keeping in all that. You think about it's kind of not allowing yourself to, you know, release these impurities. Always buy organic. It's really important because what you know, your skin you absorb whatever you put on your skin is absorbed in your body. So that's an important component. So essential oils for the skin, I'll talk about those too, but what I like to use, I'm just going to talk about 3 or 4 of these. First one I'm just going to talk about is lavender, which you probably have smelled before, maybe even grow. But lavender is famous for a relaxation and also for skin damage. I have had, you probably have, if you're cooking, have you ever had a little minor steam burn? You know, you open a pot too quickly and you're like, oh my gosh, my arm's red, it really hurts. You could go for the aloe vera plant, you know, and put that on. But I have done this, and you can test this for yourself first, but I've put on a little lavender essential oil directly from the bottle. So I call that neat on that burn, and it creates a little covering and it soothes it right away. Before I mention trying any essential oil, it's really important to do a skin patch test. The best place to do that is on the inside of the arm where you have tender skin. And I would not recommend you do skin patch tests with the oil neat. With some oils you can, like with lavender you probably can, but some oils would be a little too caustic, so you might want to dilute them, and I'll talk about the dilution level in a bit. But lavender is antimicrobial, so like I mentioned, you can use it directly for minor skin burns if that works for you. It's good for the vata imbalances. Now, vata is air and space, so emotionally, when vata is out of balance in our physiology, it can manifest as feelings of spaciness, feelings of restlessness, anxiety, even. So lavender is very calming. It has a balance. It has that grounded, really grounded effect. It's good for that. The next one is called geranium or rose pelargonium, and that's also called sometimes rose geranium. And it has a lovely aroma. It has a cooling effect, so it has more of the ability to balance the fire and water of pitta. So it has tonic properties. If you're tired, it's a great oil to just sniff out of the bottle. I actually have some here. And to take a bottle and just, it's perfectly fine to inhale it, just 3 short sniffs, and you'll get that right into your, it's a quick way of doing it. Instead of putting it in your palm, you can't put it in your palm if it's safe, if you've tested it already. But that one is a good one for deep sleep. It stabilizes the oil and dryness of the skin, and it also has an uplifting quality to it. So I like to use these 3 in combination, actually. So the next one is clary sage, and that again, that deepens sleep. It helps with promote healing dreams. Now, why would we need healing dreams? Well, at nighttime, where the brain is kind of deactivating, it's downloading. You think of it like when you download your computer, you're just kind of like, or defragging. You're letting your nervous system come to a balance. So those hours again of sleep after 10, you're going in from 10 to 2, you're going into the pitta time. So you're in nighttime, you are decongesting and purifying the liver system in the body. All the red blood cell organs ruled by pitta, including the digestive. And then you're moving into the lighter time from 2 to 6 a.m., which is the vata time, when we tend to dream more in color. So those are times when you may want to have, if you're waking up, you may want to try a little bit of aromatherapy for that. There are other ones too. We could talk about in a different workshop on sculpture of sleep. So all of these 3, lavender, rose geranium, and clary sage, can be a basis for a facial blend. The dilution would be starting with a carrier oil like jojoba, if you were going to use it for the face. Jojoba has a long shelf life, and it closely resembles the skin sebum. So for the dilution of 15 milliliters, you'd use about 8 drops each of these oils to make a little facial oil for your skin. And if you were going to use it for your skin, you can take that buy a dark brown bottle and make this up for yourself. Then you just take 2 drops and just gently pat it on your face after you've washed your face. And I recommend, like I say, I just use water. I might wash my hands first, and then just, if you have makeup on, because that's different, then you want to cut through it with some gentle cleanser. But that's a good one for the face. I'm going to go on to, I mentioned that always diluting the oils. And here's the recipe again, 15 milliliters of jojoba oil and 8 drops each of this lavender. And I'll mention right now what vetiver is, and clary sage. And you can use, let's see, the rose geranium. Sorry, I didn't put that in there. Rose geranium is also really good. It's good for the face. So vetiver is a rejuvenating essential oil. It's used in the Asian continents. It's a grass. It's used for erosion management. So it helps damage topsoil. So it helps our face. It helps that underlying layer of the face. It's a thick oil. It's almost like if you've ever seen Jatamatsu, that's another thick. It has a thick viscosity to it. It's one of the most biochemically complex of all essential oils, because it contains at least 150 identified aromatic compounds. And the aromatic compounds are what make essential oils what they are. Those are the oils in the plant, the biochemicals. So because its chemical properties are a function of the soil in which it's grown in, each batch of vetiver is endemic, has a subtle fragrance depending upon where it came from. And I'll stress again that it's really important to know your sources for essential oils. You want to make sure that they're harvested, ethically harvested, wildcrafted, and also organic. And there isn't a lot of regulation, so it's good to do your research on that. I have a few of my favorite companies. I can, we'll mention when we do the oops, sorry. We'll mention when we do the, whoops, I just missed something. When I work on the, we talk about the question and answer. So I want to talk a little bit more about another way to work with your skin, actually, and also because Epsom salt it's a good exfoliant, and it's also, I'm jumping into a slightly different topic, but it works for muscle pain and aching, and because it contains this magnesium, which is the fourth most abundant mineral in our body, the first being calcium. And it really, soaking, you can take essential oils and put them in Epsom salts and then put them in a bathtub. And it's wonderful for relaxation. For example, the lavender I was talking to you about, that one's probably the best to think about for a relaxation. Another one is rosemary that can be used. And you just put in a cup of Epsom salts, I would put 3 or 4 drops of essential oil and then shake in a bottle and then shake that bottle before you put it in the bathtub. And that would, it will dissolve that way and it'll be fine. And then when the Epsom salts are in the bathtub, I have a long brush I use with a handle, and you might want to just move the water around so that you're not sitting, so it's dispersed evenly throughout the tub. And you can also use, a foot soak. That's another lovely thing to do, soaking your hands, or hands also, is a great idea if you're feeling like your hands are getting aching. So they won't necessarily, soaking in the wintertime can create a little bit of dryness. So you want to just do that judiciously, but that works. And then I want to just talk a little bit about mood, about respiratory care, essential oils for respiratory care. The biggest one I like is the eucalyptus oil. And the one I like is called Eucalyptus radiata. It's a narrow leaf eucalyptus from Australia, and it's very mild, gentle. And when you use, has like a crisp, fragrant note to it. It's cooling in nature, but it supports deep, clear breathing. So it's considered, this one specifically, the Eucalyptus radiata, is a most it's a very versatile eucalyptus, because eucalyptus is also good for aching, pains. You want to put it in a carrier oil naturally, but you can do a steam for this. You can take a few drops of eucalyptus oil and put it in a bowl of water that has been boiled. So you put boiled water in a glass bowl, large glass bowl, and you can see the steam coming out. And you can put, you may have heard this, grandmother may have done this. You put eucalyptus oil in the water, and then you put your head over the water carefully, and you can even take a towel and put it around, and you're steaming. You're bringing that, clearing out the nasal passages. Obviously, if you've got a big problem and something's going on, you want to call your physician, because bacteria can develop for sinus aches and for headaches, but for mild irritation, this is fine to use for a little respiratory care, and it will lift your mood. I mean, it will definitely have an effect on mood. So here I mentioned that a steam tent. And always, please be careful of the temperature of that and make sure the bowl is on a steady surface, because you don't want to have any burning happening here. You're dealing with, you're dealing with steam. So you want to be careful with that. That in that case, you want to make sure that you're doing safety precautions. So I mentioned the carrier oils. Just want to be clear with that with you, that jojoba, I choose that one first for the face because it has a long shelf life, and really because it closely resembles the skin's natural oil and sebum. And again, there are some good products on the market. These things are not inexpensive. You want to get cold pressed oil, organic. Hope as much as you can, you could even look for third party certified. That means that the company had to have a higher, had a third party that wasn't interested in invested in whether or not they, they're sold their product. They wanted to check for the purity of their product. The next one is grapeseed, which is a very neutral oil. It's smooth. It smooths the skin. It's a good substitute if you can't handle the sesame oil, but that one's a good one for the face and for the body. And then I like rosehip seed oil. Sometimes I like to combine jojoba and rosehip seed together as a carrier oil. Rosehip seed is nutrient rich and it's an antioxidant. And the Yvonne Healy, someone gifted me with a tiny bottle of rosehip oil from Yvonne Healy, which is a company I think in London, or it started there. It's exquisite oil. It's extremely lovely. And like I said, again, these things are pricey, but they will last a long time. And the last go-to oil I have definitely for winter is sesame oil. And I would choose to get sesame oil that's organic and it's refined. When they refine it, it just means that they heat it up and it's not as strong. There's not as a strong smell to it. Now, I have had a client who was allergic to sesame seeds, and she was concerned that she'd be allergic to the oil. And it's not the same, of course, because she's ingesting the seeds. I know we're ingesting oil on our skin slightly, but I had to do a skin patch test to make sure it was safe. So if you're allergic to any seeds and nuts, so the grape seed and rosehip seeds, you might want to think about maybe checking with your physician, or if you have a friend who has some of the oil, you could, ask her for a little bit and say, hey, can I do a skin patch test? Because I don't want to buy it until I know I can use it. But these are really good, the basic oils I like for winter, for the skincare. And I'm not sure what the next one's showing. Oh, so, and then I was just going to talk about edibles, about consumables, and really, like I mentioned before about the drinking warm water. Well, the three herbs of cumin, coriander, and fennel, which are not shown in this picture. That's just kind of a picture I got from, that looks like green tea, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea of cooking with whole herbs, in just really taking these whole herbs, the cumin seed, the coriander seed, and the fennel seed, in almost equal parts, and putting them in a teapot and putting boiling water and sipping on that throughout the day is another very good general cleanser for the skin. I can't make specific recommendations. If you were to see an Ayurvedic practitioner for a skin issue, they would probably ask you a lot of questions about your daily habits, emotional, what you're eating, particularly for people who love or used to love the yogurt products. Yogurt taken by itself puts moisture back into the body. It swells the mucosa and can cause a little edema, so it can slow down the channels. So sometimes this is not so good for the skin, the consumption. However, you can make yogurt masks and put them on the skin, and that is a good, that can be a nice self-care exercise. So you can drink this tea, drinking warm water, and getting back to the yogurt, there is a way you can consume yogurt without making it so thick and heavy for the body, and it adds probiotics. And that's to make a drink with a blender or with a glass jar that you can shake in, the material, the contents inside. And it's to dilute the yogurt. You take whole yogurt, whole milk yogurt, or if you're allergic to whole cow's milk, you could take whole goat's milk yogurt. And it's 1 part yogurt to 4 parts water. So if I was going to make this drink, and it's called a takara, Takara, if I was going to make this to consume before my lunch meal, which is when it's ideal to put the probiotics in your gut, I would take a cup of tap water, warm water, and a 1/4 cup of yogurt, and put it in my blender. And I would add a pinch of cumin powder, because cumin aids the digestion in the body. And then I would blend it for a minute, and you see bubbles and foam when you do that. And you want to scrape off, you want to like scoop out the foam and the bubbles and just drink the thin yogurt drink. And this is said to clean the schrotas, the channels in our body. And last summer, I was doing this pretty much a dedicated basis, because I was feeling like it was so warm, and I was spending some time outside. I was feeling, strangely enough, I was feeling the opposite of energetic. I was feeling rather sluggish. So I can say, if you're feeling a little sluggish and maybe even have digestive issues, you might want to consider this kind of takara drink. So it helps to clear the channels in the body, and you'll notice your skin will start looking a little more radiant. So like I mentioned, yogurt is one of the things. Masks are made out of yogurt, facial masks, but eating it as a cold, in its undiluted form, isn't always best for the skin. Whoops, I did that again. Enough. Okay. So thank you very much for participating in this. And I'm going to end the screen share and open it up for some questions. Let's see. All right. And stop.
Hi, I am